said, well, I'll write it. Just so you know.
Yes, he's getting audio in. It's going on. So you're good to start.
Doing well.
Thank you. We're broadcasting right now.
Thank you.
Okay, I wish I stayed on though. Okay, we're done. Okay, we're going to begin.
This was mine. Yeah.
We're going to begin our work session at for this Tuesday, July 16th work session, beginning at 6:02 p.m. First item that we'll be discussing is the agenda item, City Manager Duncanville.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. So we'll jump right into the consent agenda. 4A is the minutes, so I'll skip right, I'll skip right on to 4B. Consider a resolution approving a property damage recovery service agreement with HG Recovery Services. And this is something we had a briefing on at the last meeting. Relates to us working with the insurance companies, when there's traffic accidents to recover costs associated with damage to city property, street signs, those types of things.
I've got a question on the contract. Are they here?
No.
Okay, on their contract, I think it was 1 year with 4 renewal options.
That's correct.
Okay, so the question I had was the process, because it said that under normal termination of agreement during any time during the year, there is a process that's written out that says you got to get 90-day notice. But how soon, at the end of the first term, if we decided not to continue, is it that 90-day notice, or is there some other way of notifying them and some other timeline that we have to follow if we decided that we wanted out at the end of the first year? If we don't have that answer, that's okay.
You should, for the end of fiscal year, 90 days count from the last day of your fiscal year, which would be September 30, and go back to June 30. That's when you should notice, because that way you could unfund that or include that way, so that there's no.
To the point, city attorney, they don't cost us anything.
Yeah, I know.
It's a percentage.
So you can technically give them 90 days, but you've got that acronym where you've got that time where they may have earned some money and now you got to pay it after the end of the fiscal year. So I would always recommend you drop that date. It's that June 30 date, and then that way we're not paying into the next or having to carry a reserve. Make the audit committee crazy.
So, Mayor, if I could, so I was just able to pull it up, and it references the 90 days prior to the end of the term, exactly what you're talking about, but there's also a provision for 60 days written notice where we continue.
Okay. And the last question I would have, we might not have an answer to this either, is under this contract, what did I write that down? 1 second. I don't have it, so I'm going to forego that question. Go on to the next item. There's no other questions.
4C, consider a resolution awarding the bid and authorizing a cooperative purchasing agreement with Viking Construction through City of Grand Prairie contract for micro-surfacing pavement treatment services for a 1-year term with the option to renew up to 2 additional 1-year terms. An estimated contract not to exceed $1.8 million over 3 years, subject to exercise of the contract renewal and city council appropriation. And we have DPW Director Matt Bryant here to help answer any questions.
Questions?
4B, consider resolution authorizing the submittal of an application for financial assistance from the Texas Water Development Board for lead service line inventory and replacement. Designated city manager is authorized representative to execute all necessary documents related to said application. This application, we've talked about this in the past, is for a total amount of $21,181,293. And Director of Public Works Matt Bryan is here to help answer any questions.
Questions for Matt? No.
4E, consider a resolution ratifying change orders 1 and 2 for the design of Cedar Ridge Road reconstruction project in an expenditure amount of $41,625, authorizing appropriation of $41,703.50 for additional project contingency for the execution of future change orders, amount of $83,328.50 for a total contract amount not to exceed $500,363.50. And DPW Director Matt Bryant is here to help answer questions on that.
What was the emergency that constituted 2 change orders prior to receiving council's approval?
So it wasn't actually an emergency. The council, if I remember correctly, requested that the engineering firm do a wider study. So to make sure that we nominated the best segment of Cedar Ridge Road. Then the change order number 2 was the engineering and the design of that newly selected segment of Cedar Ridge. So it moved from Wheatland and Big Stone Gap to Middale and Camp Wisdom. And because at the time we were not aware, I guess staff was not bringing things to city council for approval because they were less than 50,000. That's why we now have to go back and ratify that.
Okay, so the 2 change orders were less than 50,000, and
Yes, ma'am.
that was the assumption back then
Yes, ma'am.
under that previous administration.
Yes, ma'am.
And so have we instituted internal controls and educated everyone on preventing this from happening in the future? How will this affect our budget? How will it impact if we go back and ratify? So the money's already been spent and accounted for, so we don't have to do any budget adjustments or
I
anything?
believe that's
That
correct.
is correct. It's all coming out of utilities capital improvement and it's putting money there.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you for
Yes, ma'am.
answering the question, and thank you, Mr. City Manager, for instituting some change be made internally to prevent this from happening in the future.
And if I just could, Councilmember Gooden, so a big part of that is our procurement manager, Alton Brock, is doing a great job with all the employees, making sure that requisitions are put in the system and we're making sure that the resolutions and everything are being done. And so that is something that we literally live every single day.
Okay, so I think that's for now.
Quick question, if you're done, is good.
Yes, I am,
Okay.
Mayor.
On that change order 1, which is now $41,625, is that correct?
Mhm.
It was originally in the $9,000 area?
Yes, it was 9,000. That was to do a broad segment selection, basically.
Right.
And then the change order number 2 was actually the design of that segment.
Okay.
And then we are asking, because we're still reviewing 90%, we're asking for the contingency now that we should have asked when the project was awarded.
Okay, but there's 2 different numbers. We're talking about the contingency amount and the expenditure for the engineering.
Right, so the change order 1 and 2 comes to a total of 41,625. The contingency 10% that I'm
Okay.
asking for is the 41,703.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
No? Okay. 4F, consider resolution authorizing development and release agreement between the City of Duncanville and Green Homeowners Association to provide engineering plans for a drainage improvement project and release the city from any future liability and responsibility for improvements constructed on HOA-owned property. And again, Director of Public Works, Director Ryan is here to help answer questions.
Well, I was here when all this began, and I just had an uneducated guess that we were on public property or private property doing public work, and it didn't seem right at the time. So it seems to me like this is a divorce between us and that action taken a number of years ago to get out of the private property business.
There was a, what can I say, to your analogy, it was maybe a shotgun wedding, and those improvements were made. They have not been maintained appropriately. They felt that it was the homeowners association that we had some fault in what we did. We did not. We told them, we'll re-engineer it for you. You're gonna have to build it and you're gonna maintain it. So this is before the judge and asking for a no-fault divorce.
No good deed.
Goes unpunished.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. The next one, 4G, consider a resolution authorizing the purchase of 3 vehicles from Silsbee Ford Fleet that'll be purchased in support of the Police Department's Patrol Division, expenditure amount not to exceed $216,163.95, with the additional purchase of upfitting cost to accent and the expenditure amount not to exceed $39,349.44, with additional purchase of upfitting cost to Motorola and amount not to exceed $19,366.29. And interim Assistant Police Chief Tia Reyna is here to help answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? We're good.
Okay, 4H, consider a resolution to accept and deposit awarded federal and state asset forfeiture funds. Mayor, I know you reached out to me this afternoon about the resolution not appearing on this. I believe Mr. Keys sent out to everybody, and certainly let the attorney speak to this, but the resolution, it was attached inside of the system, but it didn't.
Yeah, the fact that it was not printed online does not make the agenda item inappropriate, because the agenda item was posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. There's no requirement in the Texas Open Meetings Act to publish all of the backup. So if anyone would have called, they would have been provided the backup if they had a question about it. You may move ahead on that item.
That's it?
That's it. Mayor, if I just could real quick, I know this was a little bit out of order, but I believe our economic development director is going to be requesting a tabling of 5C under individual consideration. Just want to get to that a little bit later.
Mayor, if you want to, you don't even have to request. If you can get a consensus, council just pull the item and then announce that the item's been pulled, be sufficient.
Can we do that in here?
You can talk about it now,
Sure,
sure.
I'm talking about a consensus.
Yeah, and say, it's your intent, here's how you do that. Yeah, at least I had very coached up that way. It's your intent to pull that, announce that unless anyone's got an issue, and if they have an issue, we can talk about it now, or we can talk about it out there in the big.
Okay, and it is my intent to pull item 5C.
It's coachable. Does anyone have an issue with that? Or we can address it out there later. It'll be brought back for future consideration. Okay, thank you. Save yourself some time.
So back to I think it's calendar.
Oh, yeah. Get into. My page here. All right. Now we'll move on to item 2 under work session, City Council calendar, City Secretary Chiquita Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor. For July 25th is Coffee with the Mayor. at the senior center, and also the budget town hall at 6 p.m. at the senior center as well. On July 27th is a native landscape workshop, and that's also at the senior center. And July 30th is the joint meeting with the DC EDC at Wheatland Plaza. For August, we have a tentative joint meeting with the library board on August the 1st. They have offered a separate date in September if you guys would like that joint meeting in September instead of the August 1st. Also, the Best Southwest Legislative Breakfast, which is every Friday in August. And if you're interested in attending, please contact David Keys and let us know, and we'll get tickets for that.
Sorry for that tentative joint meeting with the library. So,
Yes.
are we have consensus right now about whether or not we want to do that
Oh,
on
yeah,
that day?
okay,
It's pretty close.
August
Yeah.
1st.
Will we lock it in or not? And what's the time?
I believe they'll start at 6.
First of August, we have 17, so what time frame are we looking at?
They're at 6 o'clock. They start at 6 o'clock.
So consensus on this? 6 o'clock, August 1st, joint meeting with the library board.
I'm available.
See a show of hands? Okay, we're good.
Thank you. Okay, on August the 8th, we have Coffee with the Cop at McDonald's on I-20. We also have the proposed budget workshop on August the 15th. Coffee with the mayor on August the 22nd. Also, I will this week send out board and commission packets, and we do have to schedule some time for board and commission interviews in August. Those terms end at August 31st, so we usually interview sometime in August. So if you guys can let me know what days to set aside for the calendar, we'll set those. We'll start making phone calls for board and commission interviews.
No, I don't want to rain on the coffee, with the cop, but I will have better coffee.
And right now, I will say we have 42 applications, so we may have to do 3 days instead of 2. So right now I have 42 applications. September calendar, we have the public hearing on the budget on September the 3rd. The Evening of Remembrance is at the Hilton Garden Inn, and that's for the 9/11 Evening of Remembrance, and that's by the chamber is putting that one on. September 19th is the TML regional meeting, which is at Dallas Cedar Valley College. It's in Lancaster, I believe. And also September the 17th is the public hearing on the tax rate and adoption. And the Coffee with the Mayor on September 26th.
Said tax rate and adoption.
On the 17th.
Okay.
Yes, for October, the first meeting in October is canceled due to National Night Out. We have the TML conference on the 9th through the 11th. Currently, I have 5 council members who have requested attendance at that. If you are still interested, please let me know, and I will get you registered for it. And also in October, we have Coffee with the Mayor on October 24th, and the Best Southwest Cities at 5 o'clock on October 24th as well. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll go in quickly. We have 4 presentations tonight. Well, it looks like David Keys, you got the first 3. Assistant to the City Manager, David Keys, Comprehensive Plan Proposal Briefing or Presentation.
Yes, sir. And I will piggyback off of Ms. Taylor's comment during the calendar portion. I'll send out an email reminder again tomorrow if you are interested in the legislative breakfast, any of them. Even if you only want to go to one, let me know. I think I've heard from about 3 of y'all right now, but we want to make sure that we have your spots reserved. So for the comprehensive plan proposal, council nominated Ms. Gooden, Ms. Cherry Brown, and Mr. Pennebaker to spearhead the committee for the comprehensive plan. Those three sat in interviews for firms to give us their presentations. I've got a little bit from the firm that the three committee members felt was the best, and just to highlight some of what they're doing. This is from MRB Group, and this is some of what they are proposing, and then they will be coming back for a joint meeting with the DCEDC on the 30th and probably give a little bit more elaborate presentation. But did want to highlight a couple of things here on what they're proposing in terms of meeting with internal and external stakeholders, creating a "you are here" type environment in the comprehensive plan. Their public engagement strategy, they want to create a tailored engagement strategy that's unique to Duncanville. And one of the things I think that the three members liked was the meet the residents where they are, roll up your sleeves, get to work. And then I think the other thing that was really impressive was that they had, in addition to the vision and values, they had an implementation strategy at the end of the comprehensive plan. And I'll open it up to the floor to the three members of the council that were there if y'all would like to speak on what y'all liked about MRB to the rest of your council members.
You pretty much hit the bullet points of what we liked, and they were anxious to, like I said, roll up sleeves and get going, and so we're excited about getting it going.
One thing that I liked that stood out was the fact they were energetic and looking forward to working with Duncanville and getting something to our citizens who aren't likely to come to the meetings. Have an app where they can install it on their phone and provide feedback that way, so it's a little bit more convenient for those who can't make it to the meetings. That was really important for me to get as much engagement as possible. So the energy, the tools that they have available, and the ideas that they shared on how they will work with everyone on getting community stakeholders buy-in.
I would say the energy too it was a big difference compared to the other companies presenting, and they have a head start with the economic development plan, so it feels like we're already moving forward with it, even though we haven't begun this part of the project yet.
And then I believe I attached their proposal to the staff report. I think the bottom line comes out to just around $150,000, which will be obviously discussed between you and the DCEDC at the end of the month.
I did have a question. I noticed in the packet it said complementary economic development strategy. What do they mean, complementary economic development? I know what an economic development strategy is, but I know my definition, and then the word complementary. Is it really complementary?
Well, you're paying for the plan, so I doubt it's fully complimentary, but I'd have to delve more into that. But I imagine that it's part of you do a comprehensive plan not only for what you want to see in residential growth, but also for economic development growth as well. And I'm sure it goes into that implementation strategy that they will work with us on after they have completed the plan.
If I could just real quick on that, piggyback on that. So the other piece of that is, as Councilmember Pennebaker mentioned, they've already kind of done a preliminary economic development strategy with us. The conversation that I had with them was it was going to be a lot more in-depth, and actually as part of the comprehensive plan, not only hearing from the residents community, but the businesses, and actually developing a comprehensive plan with a economic strategy involved with it. Hence the reason why we're going to be requesting, in theory, the DCEDC to pay for this for us.
Okay. And then I saw project steering committee selected by city leadership for that's under the scope of services and compensation. Project steering committee. Is that us, or is that in addition to the comprehensive plan steering committee?
I think that's to be figured out, right? But it's primarily you guys. I think
Okay.
The question is whether or not you include somebody from the DCEDC, especially if there's an economic piece in that.
Well, they've already decided on their committee that.
The additional people who would be on, okay, so.
My understanding is it's the ones that you have agreed on
Right.
that we've reached out to and have confirmed their interest.
Okay, so, and then I'm really interested in incorporating cultural, and arts, what was presented to us in our joint meeting, finding a way to work that in our code. But, I'm excited, really excited about starting this conversation. You guys excited? Yes, thank you.
And we haven't been using this word very much, but this is an update to our current plan. So that's what they're helping us do. They're helping us update the plan that we already have. And then I had a question about, did they provide a timeline from initiation to completion of the
Yes.
project?
I want to say it's about 8 to 12 months. That was the time frame that just about all the firms stuck with.
Could you go to the next one?
Yes. Okay. So the next one, I don't really have slides for this. I did attach the current sign ordinance to the staff report. This came at the request of Mr. Veracruz, and so I'll turn it over to him if you've got anything that in particular you want to discuss or want us to consider bringing back to the council at some point.
Yes, sir. I think talking to some of the local businesses, they want to be able to post banners, the flag banner type thing, stuff on the sidewalk, things that they were allowed to do during COVID. We took that back away. So more or less just getting with them and probably economic development and figure out how to make all that work. Because I know we need updates to it. It's been a while since we've updated, but that was the gist of it. Is they want to be able to advertise ourselves and whatnot periodically. So yes, sir.
And I will speak to that. That is something that we've heard from a couple of businesses who have been contacted by staff, and then they reach back out to us. And especially for the grand openings, we're trying to communicate with the businesses and not just immediately go down there and take their flags down. That we know that that's not a welcoming to Duncanville by any means. But I do know that there are members of the public who don't want to see them necessarily up all the time and always across the road. So that's definitely something we can look at bringing back to you.
And one other piece to that is the Chamber of Commerce, trying to get their input along with economic development and us to try to make all three work together.
Absolutely.
Thanks, sir.
So this doesn't pertain just to scoreboards. This is complete,
No.
we're looking at the whole thing now, okay.
Yeah, the whole thing, quite frankly, needs looked at, because it's been a long time since it's been changed, and even to the point where you may want to look at the sign control board, maybe meld it with Board of Adjustment or something like that. Instead of having two boards, we could have one board to handle both. That, to me, would be more efficient. One BOA would meet more often, so there's more interest, and then we could have some rules. I will say this, they've never met a variance they didn't love.
So I guess you touched on something, follow-up question, I'm not trying to be funny, but do we still have a sign control board?
Mm-hmm.
So can we get a recommendation from them on this and have them review this?
Well, they're charged with that in their mission statement, that from time to time, they should be reviewing the entire sign ordinance or specific areas, like let's say the feather banners that Councilman Veracruz was referring to. Oftentimes when stores come in, because they see it in other cities, they think they can automatically go, if they sit back in the shopping center, they can go all the way to Cedar Ridge and put the sign out there, and that's not covered in the sign ordinance. So if that's what the sign control board wants to pass on to the council for consideration, then they should do that, because the last time the sign ordinance was changed, I don't think those existed. And so it's a new phenomena, but we don't have a place for them, so you can't even permit those. But you see them up. And I think to your point, during COVID, I was glad to see, and I used to enforce the sign ordinance, but I was glad to see a letting up of some of it because they needed it. Every business needed a little bit more. One thing I'd caution, again, I'm talking from experience, is that as you go through and you talk about these things, before you get rid of an ordinance or change it dramatically, think about why it might be there. Because what happens is once you, and we've experienced this with a significant change in our zoning ordinance, and we inadvertently got rid of some things that were very important to have in there, but the people didn't realize what it took to figure that out, to get it there in the first place, and they just dumped it. And then we had to go back in and slip some of it back in. I think there's still work to do. So anytime you look at a sign ordinance, think about why it might be the way it is. There may be a good reason. Doesn't mean it can't change a little bit and get a little more flexible and business friendly, but those things came as a result of experiences that we had with abuses and neglect. We've all seen banners that are hanging by one string, and landlords up in Plano, and it takes you a month to get them to fix that. And citizens have to look at that. So those are the types of things I say, just think about them before we just pull the plug on everything.
So can we request or ask the sign control board
Yes.
to review this formally?
Absolutely.
Get a recommendation?
Okay.
I'm in agreement with that as well.
Me too.
Give them something to do.
Mhm.
Okay. I was wondering what that sign ordinance was. Do I know?
There you go.
Okay, so now we're moving on. David again's going to do a recap. Oh, go ahead.
There was some particular instance, and just refresh me what it was, that while we were looking at the sign ordinance, there was something coming on that was kind of, hey, well, there was a specific project or something.
It was the youth scoreboards that, which is what we brought to you, I think, at the last meeting to change, because the way currently it was constructed wouldn't have allowed for the interchangeable signs and for the.
Because they have an advertising message on them now.
Right.
It's a billboard.
Thank you.
Yeah, anytime new technology comes up and new types of signs come up, it has to be revisited by the sign control board to figure out how to include it as an ordinance and not something you have to go before them every time you want to have it. That happened with electronic messaging boards. It took a year to get that figured out, do that with the least inconvenience to the business owners and the sign companies. Okay, so last one for David is briefing on amending the park and facility naming ordinance.
And again, no slides this time, but did attach a proposed ordinance, and in talking with city manager, city attorney, and the mayor, there's not really a structure for how this council adopts a name for a facility outside of a park. There's a little bit more structure for a park, but I think the building or general facility part was reserved at some point to add in those requirements, and so I think the city attorney has drafted a ordinance that would put some structure in there. So we're looking for feedback on that, and see if you want us to bring that back at some point. If you have any comments on what the draft ordinance is proposing.
Well, I have gotten feedback about some, and I don't know what the issues are, but there are people that want to comment on some of the language or something that may be missing in the proposed ordinance. I mean, the ordinance looks solid enough, but there are some people that have some thoughts that they're going to want to share with us. So I'm not sure tonight is the place, but anybody got thoughts right off the top of your head?
I received some communications from some citizens with questions and would like to be able to provide feedback and input on the ordinance.
Okay. City manager, how would we collect that feedback?
Well, we can certainly do that, or we could go ahead and put it on and schedule a public hearing so you could officially receive it. If that works.
Is that favorable to everyone?
Have a public hearing
For the proposed ordinance.
for the board.
to receive comments.
You could collect it. You wouldn't have to take action the same night. You could
Right.
continue it. You could table it, whatever you want. If there needs to be modifications.
Quick consensus, if that's something that sounds favorable.
Well, I mean, just some comments about what we received. So like there's one kind of glaring omission in what was presented to us, and that is some kind of public input process, right? And so I'm definitely in favor of, and we need the ordinance for sure, but it's missing that component of getting community input, especially when renaming a facility. And so, if we're looking at any kind of amendments to what's proposed, I'd be in favor of something like that being in there. And then also, just within the ordinance requiring some kind of investigation or study as far as like the associated costs with changing, the name of the facility, because it's not just the name outside the building, but potentially rebranding, potentially changing websites, potentially changing stationery, whatever it is. And so when to have that somewhere in the ordinance, that's kind of a required investigation that needs to be made.
So I get, one of the key things I hear here is getting citizen input.
I'm gonna add that because the public is supposed to serve.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, I was gonna say, there's a lot of this I'll hold back until we have public comments and hearings on this, but I only had a day to look at this, and I'm on 2 days of fasting, 18 hours, so I may not be reading all this right, but I didn't see a defined process, like how is it initiated, who can initiate the process, council, parks, public works. So where does it begin as far as the naming process goes? And I'll hold off on a lot of this stuff, but I went and looked at a lot of different ones from other cities, and there's a lot to consider with these. And I would suggest some of us I looked at Austin and Cedar Hill and Arlington, and they're all different. They're all over the place. So we might want to take some time individually and look at some of that and get some perspective.
It's a good thought. Okay. Moving on.
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I understand. We're talking about a town hall to review the ordinance? Or a public hearing?
Public hearing.
What we
Never-
would
never
have to
done
do
that-
is
never
put
done
it
that
on
before,
for
so-
adoption, have a public hearing on the adoption, receive comments, and based on those comments, we might want to make some changes. There are three things: initiation, associated cost, and public hearing. So we'll add those in and bring it back to you for consideration with a public hearing. And the public can come down and tell us what they like and don't like, and you can either approve it or tell me or Mr. Finch to, no, we want you to add that in and add this in and add that in.
So it's an opportunity for the council to give even more thought to what they might want to change, or
you can
another
workshop
ordinance they might want us to look at. But most important to me is it gives the public an opportunity to give input, especially the stakeholders that use the library board members, friends of the library, maybe even the library staff, to get feedback, because it's easy for us.
This is for every.
Yeah, it's for every building.
Well, no,
Do
I understand that.
Do you want the Robert Hager lobby? Some cities have that, Mr. Pennebaker's, instead of just naming a building, you can have the Robert Hager council chambers.
On a whole table.
Yeah, or a table, or a conference room. Some cities have that. Dallas has a lot of those things where they have rooms and, where someone spent their whole career coming to your council. No, all right, council.
All right,
Or gave a lot of money.
we have digressed.
How about blood? Can they get blood? Take my partner.
Okay. All right, Mr. Keys is done. We're moving on to item D, briefing on the council training and retreat expenses. Ms. Jennifer Ote, Budget Administrator.
All right, good afternoon, or evening, actually. This was requested by a council member to just talk about the training and retreat expenses. If anything, to have an awareness so you know what's in your budget, what we've spent, and what we're proposing to spend in the next fiscal year. So you've all received this information ahead of time, so this shouldn't be anything new. In 2023, we spent $85,000. That was on retreats. That was on individual trainings and facilitator expenses. The revised budget's about $100,000 for all of that. We're proposing $111,000. Pretty much the same, budget for those particular items. Each of you has an allocation that you can pick and choose what, trainings, meetings, and things you want to go to. When we put together the budget previously, we talked about having 4 retreats a year was kind of the target. So that's kind of where the $40,000 came from, some on site, some off site. So just wanted to give y'all an opportunity just to kind of have discussion. Number one, anything about this year as well as next year proposed. Too much, not enough. Any feedback there? Any questions? Yes, sir.
And this was something I'd requested, so thank you for giving us this information beforehand and then this briefing now. So, I mean, it was really just kind of a simple, just trying to understand, because I know, like with retreats, the training, so we all don't go to National League of Cities, right? We all don't necessarily always go to TML. That $7K budget, I don't know if personally I've ever requested use of very much of that money, so I know, and so my question was kind of, so that which isn't being used, where is that? What's it being used for? How much is it? So that's kind of, with some potential follow-up proposals to the use of that. But yeah, so you did answer my question, so thank you.
I did also provide, I printed out a physical copy in your books that I gave you tonight. It does break it down, the 23 actuals by council member, so you can see what we spent toward each member. And as your point, some, spend more than others, some attend more, training and conferences than others, so.
Thank you.
So if there's, let's say if there, at large does have money remaining in the budget, and if there's an event that I'm interested in having for the city, is that a possibility that could be reallocated for something like that, or it's just sits and being rolled over to next fiscal year?
Since it's a general fund pot, it doesn't roll over. It just kind of goes into the fund balance of what's not used. But certainly we can have that discussion. And if you have funds and you want to use it for something, we can perhaps use it for something else.
I'm glad you asked, because that's kind of where I was kind of headed. Is can it be moved to another use in the budget somewhere? Does it have to be within the general fund, or is there any limitations to where unused, unexpended funds can be moved?
Well, we typically move it to some other source or to some other fund, but it within your position and things you might want to do, or events you might want to have, or other things, we can certainly talk about reallocating that. That's like as long as it's okay with everybody else, other council members, of course, and just what is that? What does that cost? And we can certainly do that. So it's not fixed in stone.
Okay.
I think you have some flexibility, right? As long as you're all generally in agreement.
I heard something.
Yes, I was agreeing with the city manager. There's definite flexibility there, where it doesn't even have to be on the same line item within council's budget. If it is discussed and agreed to that you would like to make a budget adjustment to a different expenditure line in council's budget, that can be accomplished as well.
Okay. Thank you.
And excuse my seat, Councilman.
No worries. No worries. Thank you.
And we'll certainly be able to talk about this again come August, or really anytime you'll want to bring it up, we can certainly have that discussion. So.
Thank you for providing the breakdown of the expenses per council member.
That's it. Questions? Okay. All right, with that, we have two executive sessions, one of which will take probably the 15 minutes we have remaining. So we're going
Mine
to
is short. I don't know how long you're gonna have with Mr. Wilson.
You could probably do them both, 15 minutes. Just make them both.
Okay, we're gonna squeeze them in. So, city council shall convene to close the executive session pursuant to section 551.074 of the Texas Government Code. Personnel to deliberate the duties of the city manager under the Home Rule Charter and pursuant to section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code to seek legal advice from the city attorney on the same topic. Executive session 2. City council shall convene into closed executive session to seek legal advice from the city attorney pursuant to section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code concerning potential litigation involving real estate property located at 1718 Beaver Creek Court, Duncanville, Texas. And we are going into session at 6:46.
Well, you probably went to the
All right, where were we? So there's nothing to do on the, okay, welcome all. We're going to begin this evening's regular session of the Duncanville City Council meeting for Tuesday, July 16th. And first thing we're going to do is an invocation by Rachel McConnell with First Presbyterian Church of Duncanville. All rise, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, honorable council members, Madam Secretary. Beloved citizens of Duncanville, I ask that we now take a moment of prayer and meditation. Let us pray. Gracious and loving God, we trust that your presence will be known to us here. We seek wisdom and guidance. We seek peace and prosperity for the city of Duncanville, the families, communities, homes, schools, churches, gathering places, and businesses we all represent. For we know if we seek the peace and prosperity of the places that you have called us to live and dwell, that you will bring peace and prosperity there. God, guide each person here today in your wisdom. May the decisions that are made, the words that are spoken, they be seeking grace, justice, peace, kindness, and pursuit of a stronger, united community. This is how you have sought us to design our relationships with one another, as this is how you designed our relationship with you. We know this through your Son, Jesus. It's in his name we pray. Amen.
Please join me with our pledges. Thank you. Okay, our first order of business will be reports. First, mayor's report. It's been a few weeks now, but I want to remind everyone, and especially the staff and the folks with the Lions Club, for a great 4th of July parade that we had. Well attended. It was incredible. And the 4th of July event following that evening, which I believe was, and Mr. Stevenson can quote the numbers, 10,000, over 10,000 people. 10,800 people in attendance for our fireworks show. And you know, when we say that, that doesn't count the people around town that are in parking lots at shopping centers. They actually have, over the years, found better vantage points where they don't have to fight the traffic. But so if we added up all the people that were sitting in parking lots and in backyards, it's incredible how many people come out for our show. So a great amount of appreciation to the park staff, the Angela Owens Lions Club for helping with a great parade. Well, that's always a lot of fun, and I think I'm banned from throwing candy next year, so that comes with the territory. But again, it was just an outstanding event, a great community effort, and I know we had a lot of people from out of the area that come as well, and I'm just so proud of the city and the staff and all the people that had a part to that, so thank you so much. On to council member reports. I have Councilmember Mac Burnett.
Thank you, Mayor. And I want to really echo the same thing regarding the 4th of July and the festivities during that time as well. Also, want to recognize Holy Spirit Church. This is 50 years, I guess officially, when they've had a church here. So, you know, keep the word going, spread the word. And also, I want to thank the staff and public for praying for Nate Warren, our planning and zoning director. It really looked grim, and Nate's actually going to be able to come back to work in early August. And we saw him over those events, and whereas we were looking at 8 months, maybe recovery, and so it was just a wonderful thing to see him over the 4th festivities. So thank you, and keep praying for him.
Councilwoman Gooden.
Thank you, Mayor. I just simply want to say
To the Arts Commission, thank you for your joint meeting that you held with the council. And I know I'm not going to remember everything, but I did hear you on locating financial, codifying funds for you, and a arts and cultural district. I'm interested in carrying that further, and I support you. That's it. That's all. Thank you.
All right, no other lights. Councilman Coons. Mayor Pro Tem Coons.
Thank you, Mayor. I wasn't sure if Councilwoman Cherry Brown was going to mention it or not, but we have Chess in the Park. Yeah. So, but we are doing Chess in the Park again on August 3rd, right? August 3rd at Pyburn Park. And so, chess boards and sets will be available. We have tables set up, and refreshments will be provided. And we'll have chess lessons for children of all ages. And so come out and enjoy learning and playing chess with us then. And then on what's this month? July. That's this month. July 7th. Pickleball camp. 29th. July 29th. July 31st and August 2nd. There's going to be a kids pickleball camp, a free, Free, free kids pickleball camp at the rec center that we'll be doing. And so the paddles will be provided again. This is a free camp for kids. Now, this isn't of all ages this time, though. It's 5 to 12. But they do have regular pickleball Monday, Wednesday, Friday around the same time. It starts at 9 o'clock. So, pickleball is the fastest growing sport in America right now. So you can come and learn what that's all about and also get your kids involved to summer activity. And then finally, we have there's a library survey that's going on right now. So you can there's a physical copy at the library. You can also complete the survey online. But the library board and the council as well, we're looking for input, citizen input about improvements to the library. So thank you. And on Saturday, July 27th at 10 a.m., there's a native landscaping workshop at the D.L. Hopkins Senior Center. Thank you.
Thank you. No other lights. We'll move on to the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. It's my pleasure to welcome our new Economic Development Director sitting here in the front row. If you could stand up, Victor Barrera. Victor, welcome. Victor comes to us with extensive experience in economic development, planning, and zoning. I'm super glad you mentioned Director Warren will be returning with us soon and working very closely with Mr. Barrera. So welcome to you and your family. And I know you're in the process of making the moves and all the fun stuff that entails, and we appreciate you doing that. And so welcome. I also want to acknowledge and thank Assistant City Manager Robert Brown. He has worked tirelessly for the city for many, many years. He has announced his retirement date of August 30th, and we will be having a event here at the Hopkins Senior Center for him. We'll get you all the details and everything on that on August 30th. Also, this coming Saturday, I believe, is Duncan Switch. I want to acknowledge our DPW Director, Matt Bryant, and his staff actually got the crosswalks done for Duncan Switch that I think has been requested for quite some time. So we appreciate that that's done, and hopefully, Officer Luna, that helps you a little bit there too with the crosswalk being there. So I'm also excited to announce our online permitting software system. This is something we've been working with council now for months. Our go live date is that on August 13th. For the EnerGov system, and so that's where all of our residents and businesses will actually start to be able to make an application right directly through our website with the EnerGov, all the permitting system for each departments. Finally, our budget administrator, Ms. Ote, has been working tirelessly for many, many months now with every single department. We're super excited to be able to pass the budget out early to the council here earlier this evening. We'll be posting that online tomorrow, 7/17. We do have a town hall budget workshop coming up on July 25th at 6 p.m. And then the council's budget workshop will be on August the 15th, and we'll make sure that all that information is posted. And Ms. Ote tells me that this is about 2 weeks earlier than what it's been done in the past, so we want to make sure everybody had a lot of information and had ample time to review the proposed budget. So, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, City Manager. Now we're on to item 2, proclamations and presentations. And Mr. Bart Stevenson, Director of Parks and Recreation, is going to do a proclamation designating July as Parks and Recreation Month.
Before I read the proclamation, I want to thank the mayor and the council for recognizing our department for Parks and Recreation Month is always in the month of July, and we certainly appreciate all the good people here standing in front of you. Our folks do an amazing job every day making sure our parks and our recreation center and our senior center are the best for our citizens of Duncanville. So thank you guys for what you do. Whereas Parks and recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout this country, including the city of Duncanville. And whereas Parks and Recreation promotes health and wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who live near parks. And whereas Parks and Recreation promotes time spent in nature, which positively impacts mental health by increasing cognitive performance and well-being. And whereas Parks and Recreation encourages physical activities by providing space for popular sports, hiking trails, and many other activities designed to promote active lifestyles. And whereas Parks and Recreation is fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, and whereas the City of Duncanville recognizes the benefits derived from Parks and Recreation resources. Now, therefore, Greg Contreras, Mayor of the City of Duncanville, Texas, does hereby proclaim the month of July 2024 as Parks and Recreation Month.
Thank you all. Mr. Agee. Mr. Tyler Agee, the Assistant Director of Public Works, is now going to present the proclamation for the Greatest American Cleanup Pledge Proclamation.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So this pledge is brought to us by the Keep America Beautiful Foundation. In honor of America's 250th birthday. They want to bring some awareness to initiatives and foster communities to basically clean up the world, ideally. So this initiative is to get as many communities as possible to sign up and take a pledge to come up with new programs and initiatives in their area to ensure that America meets this goal. So the Keep Duncanville Beautiful Board has definitely been talking about this for quite some time, so we're looking forward to the rest of 2024 and 2025 and 2026 to come up with new programs and initiatives in order to meet this initiative. So, the Declaration Action for the Greatest American Cleanup. Whereas the people of the city of Duncanville are dedicated to enhancing the beauty and cleanliness of our community. And whereas we recognize the importance of preserving our environment and fostering civic pride among our citizens. And whereas we acknowledge the transformative power of clean and green spaces to support and promote the well-being of all people. And whereas America's 250th anniversary on July 4th, 2026, presents a historic opportunity for us to showcase our commitment to sustainability and community beautification. We, the City of Duncanville, do hereby proclaim our support for the participation in the Declaration of Action for the Greatest American Cleanup. As such, we commit to the following on an annual basis: organizing 3 new community cleanups to inspire our citizens of all ages to work together to remove litter from our streets, parks, waterways, and public spaces; to organize 2 reduce, reuse, recycle experiences in which we champion and act towards responsible waste disposal and resource conservation among our citizens; and then hold 1 event to celebrate our progress and achievements to help America look her best for her 250th anniversary celebration. By declaring our support for the Greatest American Cleanup with Keep America Beautiful, we intend to make the City of Duncanville a shining example of environmental stewardship and community engagement as we work together to make our community cleaner, greener, and more beautiful for generations to come.
Thank you, Mr. Agee. And you know, when we all witness people littering, we see litter. A lot of you volunteer to go out and pick up that litter, and it never seems like we really catch up with the amount of littering that goes on. It's programs like this, and this proclamation reminds me that as we get more serious about this and with the proposed programs throughout the year to do cleanups, it's about the only way we're going to get a grip on this, but it's also an example to younger people and children in particular that when they see us acting in this manner to clean this up, I think it will stick in their minds, and they may do better than us when they get to our age and have it cleaner yet. So I think this is a good start. So thank you, Tyler, and I appreciate you doing the proclamation for us. Is council to receive a briefing from Lee Ferguson of Republic Services relating to ongoing trash pickup, storm debris cleanup, and activity by Republic Services. It's going to, looks like we got Matt Bryant, Director of Public Works, as well as Lee Ferguson.
And Council, yes, my name's Lee Ferguson, and I would also like to introduce some people that I have with me, if that's okay, because they may be answering some operational questions that you guys might have.
Sure, could you pull the mic a little bit closer?
Yes, absolutely. I'm sorry. Okay, so who we've got right now from Republic Services is Mr. Scott Hempel. He's our General Manager. And then Mr. Mauro Flores is our operations manager, so he oversees all drivers for all lines of business, helpers, dispatchers. And then Mr. Reginald Lambert over here is our operations supervisor over the Duncanville residential team. So he's the one that's on the ground, driving around, checking out piles, directing guys. He's your man. So I just wanted to introduce you guys to them. And then, of course, it's a team effort. So David Dunn and LaShonda Vaughn from the City Public Works Department are also here. Okay, so let's just jump in. All right. I wanted to take this opportunity because it's rare, and I'm so glad Mr. Finch asked us to present, but it's rare that I get to talk to you guys all at the same time. And so I wanted to lay out what the non-storm bulk and unbundled brush program looks like, just so everybody understands. And so when the contract was signed in 2019, what was decided is that each resident of Duncanville will get a twice-a-month service of 10 cubic yards total of unbundled brush or large bulky items. And so this stuff it's kind of gotten around now, but this is what we use internally to route the city. And so the first and third week, we tackle the north side of the city, north of Wheatland, and then the second and fourth weeks of the month, we tackle the south side of Wheatland. And so the spirit of the service terms is that basically each week, one half of the city will be clear of debris and trash and everything. We know that doesn't happen because people don't necessarily understand this or put it out at the wrong time. But the idea is that we've got the full first week and third week to tackle the north side and the full second and fourth week to tackle the south side. And in order to do this, we have 2 boom trucks that are tied to the Duncanville contract. And so they are working in the city 5 days a week, 12 hours a day, constantly picking up brush in bulk. And so those are tied to y'all's contract. Those are your trucks. And then we also have our rear load trucks that pick up the trash bags, but they also help pick up bulk as well. So that's what a normal bulk and brush schedule looks like. So we're going to come back to this slide. I know that that's what y'all are looking at, but we're going to come back to that. So then May 28th hits, and everybody wakes up, that morning, and there's trees down, there's brush down, and it's it is a mess. And I found this article because there's been constant news articles about other cities that are still dealing with the pickup, the level of debris, things like that. But I thought that this was interesting that Encore says that the thunderstorms on the 28th was the worst in the company's history and the worst that they've seen in Dallas County. And that's saying something because Encore keeps our power on. And so an element of our contract is there's a force majeure clause. And so what that allows for is when something unforeseen happens, an act of God, which storms and 80-mile-an-hour winds are acts of God, floods, wars, things like that, that protects both parties from temporarily giving the level of service that people are accustomed to. And so because there was 80-mile-an-hour winds and there was debris beyond what we typically pick up, that we have this clause in our contract. So in addition, there was an amendment to the contract in 2019, and there was a storm debris management plan that was created. And so I know that this is small, and I'm happy to provide you guys with the amendment, but the storm debris allows for the city and Republic Services to work together to figure out resources, to figure out timelines, things like that. And so it's funny because in the contract it has a medium-size event, and it says 5 to 25% of the homes are affected. Well, we know that close to 90 to 100% of the homes were affected here in Duncanville, and so the next definition is a major event, so more than 25 homes affected. There was no disruption of basic services, but there was brush, and so that's what we were focusing on. And so for the timeline, just so you guys know what was going on, me, David Dunn, our team have been in constant communication. I probably talked to him 3 to 4 times a day, and we have throughout this entire thing. And so I wanted to highlight a couple things. We are 6 weeks from May 28th. I think it's about 38 business days so far. But so Doug and I visited on June 3rd, and it's like, okay, we're going to keep moving through our sections as normal, and we're going to pick up 10 cubic yards, and it's like, okay, great. And that's when the city activated the third-party debris removal company, CTC, that the city has an individual contract with them. So that was activated. And so we were working with our 2 trucks, and then CTC started working on Monday, June 10th. And then they continued to work through the 20th of June. I apologize, I put it as the 19th. But then what we realized is that there was so much out there. Doug and I met, and he said, Lee, don't follow the 10 cubic yards. Our goal is to get stuff off the curb. And so from then on, starting the 17th, the sections we were working in, we picked up everything at the curb, whether that was 10 cubic yards or 40 cubic yards. So we kept working through the sections, and then CTC kept working. So during this time, CTC and us were bringing the debris to the Skyline landfill because we had to bring it somewhere. And so that was a factor in those landfill trips and things like that. Okay, so then we keep fast forwarding. We're continuing to work, picking up everything, which of course we knew was going to slow us down. But I am so happy to say that as of yesterday, and this is the map that you guys have because it hadn't been updated when I gave them this presentation, but we have swept, between us and CTC, we have swept the entire city. And so we finished what is known as Section 8, which is east of 67, and we started back in sections 1 and 2 today with our boom trucks. I don't know the specifics of who the third party the city is using right now and what they're doing, but I don't know if Mr. Dunn wants to speak to that. But what we've also decided, on June 3rd, we had a meeting with the Public Works team, and we decided that we're going to start bringing brush only to the spoil yard. We're not going to waste time bringing it to the landfill. And so what we've done is there's 4 40-yard roll-offs at the spoil yard, and both us and the contractor are bringing brush there and heading straight out to the street again. And that has exponentially improved our time and ability to collect and clean up the city. And so from June 8th to today, we've hauled 25 40 yards, and they total 115 tons. So we're collecting a lot of brush, but this new system has greatly improved, and which is why we were able to say that we have swept the entire city and we're starting back in sections 1 and 2. So going back to the tonnage, we have a year-over-year comparison, and then we also have a month-to-month comparison. So between us and CTC, we collected 377.4 tons out of Duncanville in the month of June. And you can see that that's a 25% increase from what we collected in May with just our 2 boom trucks. And so we absolutely had more volume than normal. And then for July, we are 10 business days in, and so we've collected the 100.26, that's what went to the landfill, plus the 115 tons that we've hauled from the 40 yards. So you're looking at 215 tons, and we're midpoint in the month. So that means we have more to go, but I'm very optimistic that that we'll be able to get it done by the end of the month. And so the last thing I wanted to share with you guys, sorry. These are not excuses. I need y'all to know that because I hate excuses. What I wanted to tell you is some of the things that we've experienced working through the city. So like I mentioned, 90% of the people were affected. People have put out way more than 10 cubic yards. And I had my boom truck driver tell me, I said, hey, what are you seeing out there? He goes, Lee, I cleared 5 houses on a street. I ran to the landfill. I came back, started working where I left off, and people had already brought more out right after he had cleared it. And so there has been some of that as well, which makes it look like, there's not work being done, but that's not the case. In addition, we've seen a lot of commingled material, so brush and bulk mixed in together. And so the boom truck can handle that if it's bigger bulk plus the brush. But it should be separated technically by the contract. The other thing I wanted to mention is that after a storm, people want everybody to get to work picking it up, and that's true. However, what we've experienced is that it takes people a good week to 2 weeks to clear the brush, get a tree trimmer in there, get it to the front curb, things like that. So I think that that's why when we did our initial assessment, we were like, okay, it's going to take at least a month. Then we got in there and we saw how much people had put out, which has put us into July. And the lessons that we have learned through this, am I going the right way? Yes. The lessons that we've learned from this is that we stick to the storm debris management plan, working with city management. We start the centralized roll-off removal system very, very early so that it keeps the boom trucks and the third-party trucks in the city versus traveling to the landfill and all of that. And then this would be a hope, and like best practice would be to communicate to residents, hey, don't put out bulk. Hey, we're only collecting brush at this time. Help us help you to clean the city up faster, and what people should expect and things like that. So those are the takeaways that the city and us kind of have come to together. And just to let you guys know, now that we're starting back in sections 1 and 2 with our boom trucks, Doug made the call that we collect everything from the curb when we were in section 4. And so right now we are collecting everything that's out in sections 1 and 2, and then the parts of 4 that we had already done. And then once we are back to like section 5 where we had cleared it all the way, we'll go back to the 10 cubic yard limit if that is okay with the city. But that is our plan, is to collect everything that's in 1, 2, and 4. Oh, absolutely. Yes, I apologize. Do we want to do this one? Okay. And with that, I welcome questions, conversation.
Sure.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm going to get us started. I have one light on so far, but I have a feeling there'll be a few more. How does a citizen know how to judge what 10 cubic yards of brush look like?
Okay. So the best picture that I provide for people is it's 10 kitchen stoves wide worth of items. So it's 30 feet wide. And if you're getting all technical, it's 3 feet deep and 3 feet high. But you could have, let's say, 15 feet wide, 6 feet tall, 6 feet deep, that kind of thing.
Is that information posted somewhere for the public?
Looking at Mr. Dunn.
Oh, come on up. And could you repeat that for the viewers?
Yes. Good evening. I'm David Dunn, a utilities assistant superintendent. But it is posted on our website. There's also ways they can just contact us. Personally, I'd usually say it's 4.5 foot wide, 5 foot tall, and about 12 foot long. So you can, the dishwashers, you can stack those 2 high, 4 wide. So it is kind of one of those things. We're hoping that Republic doesn't say, hey, we're going to leave 1 cubic yard because we're staying by the book. So it is, you can tell between 10 and 20, but that 11 or 12 is what we expect them to at least go the extra mile.
Follow up to that. So last week, and I talked to the city manager about this, and I believe you responded to the particular complaint. It was a gentleman in District 1 that was very concerned. So I drove out there. I think it was Friday last week. I drove out there. Now, I'll have what I call significant piles of cut brush. When I say significant piles, they exceeded what you've described to me. So they were already over the limit, but that's not my point. I told the city manager from West Ridge to Middale to Greenstone to Casa Grande to Wheatland, the Dove Creek area, Roma, all that. I stopped counting, and I was talking about significant brush piles, not the handful of branches. I stopped counting at 50. Now, that was last week, and that's why I called him, because this gentleman, when he said, that we should be ashamed of ourselves, this is embarrassing, there's no excuses. I don't want to hear about the storm. But when I saw that, that's the conversation we had, was the public doesn't want to hear that. Now, right after the storm, of course, that's good reason. But what I was glad to hear was that I know you all only have 2 trucks, and I know how quickly the hydraulics will run out on those trucks, and they're down, and now you're down to 1. I did see the 5 trucks from the private contractor at a staging pad a couple of weeks ago out on Santa Fe, so I was glad to see that. So when Lee, when you talk about the progress that we're making, it's progress in your world because you know what's happening. You know how many tons you're taking off. But our citizens are visual. And when you drive into the neighborhood I drove into and you see as much as I saw, they don't care what we say up here. Now, it sounds promising, though. I think I've heard some promising things tonight that'll help, and I hope some of those people are watching and getting a better understanding that we're making a dent. But I think I saw a response from you that it's a dent, but we've still got a long ways to go. And I think that in addition to continuing to use outside contractors, and if we need to use another set of outside contractors to get it done quicker, and you need to come to us for money, and if it's there, I would encourage that, because this particular case seems worse than I've seen in a long time. We've had worse storms. I get that people put stuff right back out. So my last 2 questions, how are we informing residents about when they combine brush and bulk trash together? Because I know you won't pick that up. So how are you notifying them to tell them we're not going to pick this up?
Well,
You go ahead.
we have been picking that up. The first contractor, CTC, that came in, they were instructed to pick up just the clean brush piles, thinking there was going to be a lot more clean brush piles. You take it to the green waste landfill. It's a little bit quicker turnaround time. It's cheaper. It's better for the environment because they produce mulch. So unfortunately, this combination, it was almost every other house, it seemed like. So that was it's unfortunate. It was put out by, I do believe, the social media. Keep brush separated from your bulk. Stay away from the fire hydrants. Stay away from parked cars in front of the brush. Electric lines. So that was put out early on. I think in the future we do need to work on the education portion to let our residents know this is how we should do it. So, but once it's these loads are contaminated, they go to the landfill. So.
Well, go ahead.
That too.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. So Mauro and Reggie have directed our Duncanville team that when there's bulk out, grab it with the rear load truck. There are certain levels of piles that we call hand collect piles, where we know the helper can just grab the brush even though it's not bundled. We can grab the brush, and so those guys have been instructed to do that as well. But when it's a larger brush pile with the bulk, they do get that, but with this storm, we have been focused on the brush.
I appreciate that. So last thing, I think we resolved the gentleman's issue. I saw an email exchange, David, between you and him on Dove Creek, but his wasn't just particular to Dove Creek, it was the area around him. And I think I saw an email that was being taken care of yesterday or maybe Wednesday.
Yes, sir. I do believe it was taken care of Saturday or Sunday. I do believe it was Sunday.
Okay, well, that's awesome. I appreciate those types of responses. Unfortunately, that was an isolated area of town. I don't want anybody to think I was playing favorites. He just contacted me, and I was trying to help him get to the right people, and it looks like he did. So thank you for that. And Lee, thank you for working with the city manager to come up with a strategy. I like the idea of having a location here in town so they don't have to be out of service on the way to Skyline, because I imagine that's an hour round trip for them. Yeah, so that just keeps more trucks operating, so thank you for that. And with that, Mr. Kuntz has some questions.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm not sure, because you asked a question that I had, and I'm not sure if I heard an answer, and this may not be for Ms. Ferguson, but as far as what are we doing to improve communications with the public? I'm not sure if I heard a clear answer on that, so.
Improve the communication with the Republic
To
or
improve
to the
the
public. I'm
public.
sorry. I'm
Yes,
sorry
sir.
about that. We really just need to focus more on the social media aspects of this. I don't know if workshops will be in place, but Facebook, Nextdoor are good platforms to put that information out. The Monthly Champion is a great place to put information out. So we will be working closely with Alex to make sure we get more public education out there.
And then just one other question. This might be city manager. So as far as in your communications with city managers of other cities, so these storms, they didn't just hit Duncanville; they hit everywhere. So in your discussions with other cities and city managers, where are they, and are they kind of in the same place where we are? Are they better off, worse off?
No, I appreciate that, Councilmember Kuntz. So of the four, what I would say the main best Southwest cities, I communicate literally weekly, sometimes multiple times a week with the city managers of Lancaster, DeSoto, and Cedar Hill. Cedar Hill doesn't use Republic, but I believe the other three do, obviously including Duncanville. And what I would say, generally speaking, is everybody's in a very, very similar situation. Actually, some have it a little bit worse than us. It's going to take a little bit longer, but I think generally everyone is in a very, very similar situation. If I could segue back to Mr. Dunn, the other thing that we didn't mention is we actually did bring in a second private service this past weekend to help with this.
Yes, sir. It was Camacho Tree Services. They're local. They were able to respond with a quote right off the bat. They were able to show up the very next day. So we contacted them late Thursday. They came out Friday morning, took a look at it, gave us a really fair price, and able to start work Saturday morning. So they've been concentrating kind of in that whole South Greenstone area that Mr. Contreras has talked about. That was another area that CTC, the prior contractor that we had started in June, which would have been June 10th, when they went through that area, they were concentrating more on the clean brush piles. Like I said, unfortunately, they weren't all clean, but after June, probably after that first 3 or 4 days of June, after about June 14th, 15th, they left that area. And so the other contractor that's working there now went back to that same area to clean up.
And I believe our contract with them is to collect something like 800 to 900 yards a day, cubic yards a day, right,
Sir.
throughout the city.
Yes, sir.
And if I could just go back to your question, Councilmember Coons, on public education. So Lee and I have been having conversations. The other thing that we need to be thinking ahead in terms of next year is thinking about the contracts and what we're going to be doing for that. And we've been having some conversations about really the need for us to probably focus sometime, especially now's a good time, but going forward on the public education piece and really what we could do better. And I think we've got to make a concerted effort on some other ways that we can improve that.
Councilman McBurnett.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, I hear the public education piece, okay, but I've seen it, and so I don't. If I'm seeing it, especially social media or anything like that, it should be fairly easy for everybody else to see it. But I'm hearing it, and it's like residents. I'm going to say it. 2019, this contract was signed. That information's been out there since 2019, and you know, I'm hearing the education about it, but it's pay attention to what's going on. You have resources that will answer the questions for you, whether it's council members or city staff. Please take advantage of it and use it. Commingling of bulk and brush is an issue. And I guess my question is, if they do it, do you notify the resident? What happens if they do it? I know this is a storm situation, or we've kind of gone that, but what happens to a resident if they put it out just on the regular schedule and they commingle? What happens?
I'm going to enlist my operations team to come help me answer that.
Good evening, everyone. It all depends on the size. So basically, if it's hand collectible, we have our helper collect that and throw it in a rear load. But since right now we are dealing with the storm, if it's a larger pile and it's commingled, we kind of, right now, our focus on the brush, how Lee said. And once we do a cleanup and make sure all that brush is gone, we'll come back and sweep it with the boom.
Right. Well, and I'm talking about on a normal dated, I mean, your 2-week schedule. Okay, so.
I think Councilman McBurnett, without talking to our collection team, I do know that we will not pick up a pile that's commingled, okay? There may be something in it that will prevent us from picking it up completely. But we've established a better tagging system where we have these neon yellow bright tags that if we're not going to pick something up, then it has a place for us to say why. And there's a check mark that the guys can do and stick it on there, or you're commingled, you're above the limit, whatever it might be, household hazardous waste. So we have that tagging system that now that Reggie's here will be drastically improved.
Is the tagging system, like if it's something curbside, is it on the curbside, or do you actually post something on their door?
Oh, It's on either the, well, y'all don't have carts, sorry. It's on your pile of bags or the pile of brush.
Okay, but it's very visible.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Okay, doesn't look like we have any more comments. Thank you all.
Very much.
Okay, now we're going to move into our citizens' input. In-person citizen comments will be heard during the regular session in keeping with the City Council's rules of procedure adopted on June 4th, 2024. Electronic mail comments will no longer be read aloud. Please, paper copies will be provided to the City Council at the dais. The comments will be made a part of the public record in the minutes. Pursuant to Section 5510007 of the Texas Government Code, any member of the public has the opportunity to address the City Council concerning any matter of public business or any posted agenda item. However, the Act prohibits the City Council from deliberating any issues not on the public agenda, and non-agenda issues may be referred to city staff for research and future action. All persons addressing are subject to council adopted rules, and limitations permitted by law. At this time, the 2-minute comments will be taken from the audience on any topic. I will mention that we did receive one comment via email. Okay, so we will begin with Mary Flickner.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm here to address the Council regarding...
I apologize. I was supposed to remind you to give us your name and address, please.
Okay, sure, yeah. Mary Flickner, 418 North Casa Grande, Duncanville, Texas, 75116. I'm here to speak about item 5D regarding the permit. Am I speaking in the right time? Am I supposed to go after you talk about 5D?
Mayor, that's a public hearing, so we should ask for her to speak at the public hearing.
You prefer to wait until we get to that item and speak at the public hearing?
Well, I have to pick a daughter up, so could I speak now?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm just putting my oar in on behalf of UME Prep, being able to have special permission to hold classes at First Baptist Duncanville Church because we're waiting on our building to be completed. And I will say the first time I was in the DFBC building was right after Hurricane Katrina, and the church was serving as a home for families that were displaced by that event. And so I was thinking they want to serve as a home for our school, temporary, and they'll do their utmost to protect the community and the neighbors. And I just wanted to say, would you give us a home for 3 months? Thank you.
Okay, I noticed, looks to me that the majority of these cards are addressing that same item. So I will ask those that have turned in cards on item 5D if they're, like the previous speaker, not able to stay. Otherwise, you can express your opinions during the public hearing portion. So is there anybody that is speaking on 5D that would like to speak now because you have to leave? Okay, we'll hold on to these then for the public hearing. I have 2 more cards unrelated to that item. One of them is Amelia Moore. Oh, I noticed it's just I guess I can say it for the record, it's a support of a dog park, but there's no indication they want to speak tonight. And the other one, Teresa Montgomery.
To the mayor and to the council, my name is Teresa Montgomery. I live in Duncanville at 519 Allen Avenue, 75137. I am here again to speak about the Wheatland Plaza plan concerning Monty Anderson. I believe that there was approximately $2 million that was given to reconstruct this area, although he says it's only $1.5 million. Since you have gone to the parade and you've seen the activities that happen in this part of town, this is the overflow. This is the place where we go when we do the fireworks display. With his plan developing, it's going to interfere with the community activity there at the Wheatland Plaza, with the 10 feet wide from end to end landscaping grass and a 25 to 50 unit condo that he's going to put in the center of that parking lot. I also don't believe that any of that is going to be working for the community. I live right behind this building, and I found out that the things that I moved here to get away from are now behind me. A gun shop, a tattoo shop, 3 beauty supplies or facilities, a Dollar General. This area may be considered insignificant, low income or average income people, but we also deserve to be able to live safely and in an environment that will be impressive to our children. Alcohol, drugs, guns is not positive for our community, and it shouldn't be there. I'm also requesting, and I have in the past, that an audit be done on the money that you have given to Mr. Anderson to find out where the allocation of these funds have gone, because we're at the end of the 3 years for him to have completed this program. And I think that it warrants you to find out what happened to the $2 million.
Okay, this concludes our citizen input. We'll move on to item 4, consent agenda. City Secretary, please read the consent agenda items.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 4A, consider the minutes for the June 18, 2024 City Council regular meeting and the June 9, 2024 special council meeting. Item 4B, consider a resolution approving a property damage recovery service agreement with Peachtree Recovery Services Incorporated. Item 4C, consider a resolution awarding a bid and authorizing a cooperative purchasing agreement with Viking Construction, Inc. through City of Grand Prairie Contract 21478 for microsurfacing pavement treatment services for a 1-year term with the option to renew for up to 2 additional 1-year terms and an estimated contract amount not to exceed $1.8 million over the 3 years, subject to the exercise of a contract renewal and City Council appropriation. Item 4D, consider a resolution authorizing the submittal of an application for financial assistance from the Texas Water Development Board for lead service line inventory and replacement, and designating the city manager as the authorized representative to execute all necessary documents related to said application. Item 4E, consider a resolution ratifying change orders 1 and 2 for the design of the Cedar Ridge Road reconstruction project in the expenditure amount of $41,625 and authorizing the appropriation of $41,703.50 for additional project contingency for the execution of future change orders. Amount of $83,328.50 for a total contract amount not to exceed $500,363.50. Item 4F, consider a resolution authorizing a development and release agreement between the City of Duncanville and the Green Homeowners Association to provide engineering plans for a drainage improvement project and release the city from any future liability and responsibility for improvements constructed on HOA-owned property. Item 4G, consider a resolution authorizing the purchase of 3 vehicles from Silsby Ford Fleet Group that will be in use in support of the Police Department's Patrol Division in the expenditure amount not to exceed $216,163.95, with the additional purchase of uplifting costs to Axon in the expenditure amount not to exceed $39,349.44, with the additional purchase of uplifting costs to Motorola in an amount not to exceed $19,366.29. Item 4H, consider a resolution to accept and deposit awarded federal and state asset forfeiture funds.
Thank you, City Secretary. Any questions or concerns from council? Mr. McBurnett, did you like?
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Councilman McBurnett, a second. Councilman Kuntz, please vote. Vote is unanimous approval. Thank you. Okay, item 5, items for individual consideration. Item A, take any necessary action as a result of executive session.
Mayor
Attorney?
and Council, as a result of executive session regarding 1718 Beaver Creek Circle, Duncanville, Texas, I would ask the Council to consider the following motion. A motion to authorize the city attorney to file an appropriate legal action to remove substandard building, debris, and demolition refuge from property located at 1718 Beaver Creek Circle, Duncanville, Texas.
So moved.
Thank you. So we have a motion on that Councilman McBurnett made a motion, second by Mayor Pro Tem Kuntz. Vote, please. Unanimous approval.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. There's no further action resulting from executive session.
Thank you. Okay. Now move on to item B, discuss and consider private citizens' appointment to the audit committee. We have discussed this issue, and it's open for discussion or a motion.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion. We assign Jerry Frazier to the audit committee.
Okay, a motion has been made. Second by Councilmember Gooden. Vote, please. Unanimous approval of Mr. Frazier. Thank you. Okay, at the request of the Economic Development Director, we're going to be withdrawing 5C. My understanding, it will be back at some point in the future. Okay. So are we actually tabling this?
No. No, it's been pulled.
It's been pulled.
There's
Okay. All right, so it's actually been pulled for the record. Okay, 5D. Conduct a public hearing and consider adopting an ordinance amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance and map as aforementioned amended, amended by amending the existing single-family 7 district to grant a specific use permit to allow for the use of temporary educational use on Doris Heights, Block C, lots 1 through 12, Block E, lots 1 through 4, ACS 4.0241, more commonly known as 323 West Wheatland Road, Duncanville, Dallas County, Texas. So speaking before us is Assistant to the City Manager, David Keys.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I am here before you tonight, obviously, as we await the return of Director Warren and not wanting to push Director Barrera immediately into the circle with something that he may not have much knowledge of, since this application was filed, I believe, in February. And they've been working to try and get it to you for quite some time. And just a little back history, we did not know this was, our current staff did not know this was on the table after Director Warren took his leave of absence. And so we've been scrambling trying to get them before you this evening. So the request is to obtain a specific use permit for a temporary school. They will be doing 7th and 8th grade at the church. The future land use map designation is public, semi-public, and the zoning district is currently single-family residential, and the building does serve as a church. This is the actual parcel of land that will be used for the school facility. It is important to note, and I will have a slide here on the coming up, that the parking lot across from the church, across from Peach Street, will also be a part of this, as that will come into the traffic plan, as you'll see in a little bit. So this is the full area, and that is my poor hand drawing of the outline to let you know everywhere that we're going there. But this is the outline of where we did all the notices to the surrounding neighborhood to let them know when we did the notices before planning and zoning. This is a map of the traffic plan, and I apologize that it is really small, but as the best I could do on the slide screens that we had. So it's important to note here a couple of things about this traffic plan, and I think you all received the full traffic management plan. But what you have here is the parking lot across from Peach Street. They will double queue the 8th graders. They will enter on Wheatland on the eastern side of the parking lot, enter in, double queue on both sides of the parking lot, all the way towards Peach Street. They'll come to a single line at Peach Street. Once there, the cars will cross Peach Street over into what is perpendicular parking to the church along Peach Street, and then they will queue along those perpendicular parking spaces on Peach Street to keep them from blocking Peach Street at any time, also to keep children from having to exit in that parking lot, cross Peach Street, and come over. UME Prep will also be putting employees at that location to ensure the safe crossing of the cars from the parking lot to Peach Street. As they go through the parking, they will exit to the north part, back onto Peach Street and out towards Santa Fe. The children will be dropped off. There will be cones placed along that perpendicular parking lot to keep the children within those parking spaces as they exit the cars and go into the building. And again, UME Prep will be placing staff there to oversee that as they go. That is for the 8th grade. 7th grade will then enter either from the parking lot of the church and the westernmost part of the parking lot on Wheatland or off of Santa Fe. And then they will queue in a double line along those yellow lines in the parking lot there, again with staff monitoring. Children will be dropped off. They will come out and then exit back onto Santa Fe in that. This was, so when they initially came to planning and zoning, they did not have a traffic management plan, and I'll speak to what planning and zoning asked in a bit, but planning and zoning did want one, so we asked them to come up with one. They came back with this after much discussion with staff. It satisfied the fire marshal in keeping the queue line out of the fire lane, but it also got as many of the cars as possible off of the street so as not to impact Wheatland Road, and Santa Fe during the drop-off and pickup times. We sent 57 mailings out. As of tonight, I am not aware of any in favor or opposition in terms of responses that we got. These are the considerations for a specific use permit as defined in our ordinance: compatible with the adjacent land use, consistent with the architecture of adjacent properties, innovative use of modern development concepts, consistent with the goals and objectives of the city, an enhancement or improvement beyond the minimum standards set forth by the zoning ordinance, not detrimental to the general health, safety, and welfare of the community, would stabilize and improve property values within the city, would protect and enhance the city's attractiveness to residents, business, tourists, and visitors. Proposed use would strengthen and diversify the economy of the city. You can also put a time limit on it, and at the June 3rd, 2024 meeting, Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval for a period of 1 year, contingent upon a traffic management plan being submitted to the City Council. It is important to note that UME Prep currently is building a new building on Spur 408 where these children will attend once it is complete. They hit some snags along the way. Actually, they hit a water line, and it caused a delay in the completion of their building, and so the 7th and 8th graders can't move in. They are estimating completion somewhere around November or December of this year. So the request is really only for the next 3 to 4 months once school starts in August. They did not come to us asking for a long time. The Planning Commission, though, did grace them the first time with a 1-year approval. At its July 8th, 2024 meeting, the Planning Commission saw this traffic plan along with the full application again and approved it with a 4-0 vote with 3 commissioners absent. There was no time frame included in the approval at the July 8th, 2024 meeting.
Questions for Mr. Keys? Mr. McBurnett?
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Well, let's do this before we start the questioning. It's been suggested we go ahead and open the public hearing. So consider the public hearing open at this point. $8:24. No questions? The lights are out. Okay, we're going to open it up for the public then. So thank you, Mr. Keys. And I'll start by calling out the names of those that want to speak in favor. I'm sorry. Total for all of them? Okay. Okay, well, the best way to do this is to make sure that everybody has a fair amount of time within this 10-minute block I'm being told that we have for all of y'all. If you hear something that doesn't have to be repeated, just voice your support if you're in support, and we'll move on. Felicia Davis.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilmen. My name's Felicia Davis, and I'm the Director of Operations at UME Preparatory Academy. I live at 1002 Hunter Ridge Drive in Arlington, Texas. I'm starting my 6th year here at UME, and my role under operations covers a multitude of different things, one of which is safety and security. I wanted to speak to you tonight to assure the council and the community of Duncanville that our school does everything humanly possible to ensure the safety of all of our students, our staff, our parents, our families throughout the day and before and during school, in which the car line is a part of that. It is our most important role and one that we take very seriously. We follow all of the required safety and security guidelines put out through TEA, and then above that, and we go above and beyond any chance we get to serve our community in the best way possible. We meet as a team to come up with the very best possible plans, and then we work together to execute that plan. If for some reason, and this happens, in all areas of our education system, but if for some reason we see that a need has come up that needs to be revised, we're quick to recognize that need, and then we meet together again and we try again and come up with a new plan. I would say, in regards to the traffic map that was shared with you, we over-communicate with our families. This summer, we have a new traffic pattern at our Dallas campus, and we've already sent those maps out to our families, and have met as a team many times over the summer, making sure that it's the best possible plan and making sure that our families are clear on exactly what the expectation is for that traffic flow. We will continue to do that with the traffic plan for the Duncanville campus. And we'll send that out via email to our families. We have hard copies that we distribute at all of our orientations. We put it up on our TV just like you did, and we walk through it step by step, making sure that all of our families know exactly how the traffic will flow. And we'll continue to do that if you allow us to use the Duncanville Church for the 3 months that we're needing it. I don't think that you will notice any negative effects due to our school being housed at First Baptist Duncanville. I certainly would hope not. If we were to hear of anything, we would be happy to address those in a very timely manner and see what we could do to make all the parties happy and do what's best for the students as well. So thank you so much for allowing me to speak tonight.
Thank you. Scott Graves.
Good evening, Mayor and councilmen and women. It's a blessing to be here tonight. I actually reside in Grand Prairie, Texas, at 5085 Norick Drive. I have the blessing of being on the school board. My wife and I have had the honor of having 5 of our kids go through UME Prep. It's a school that's only existed for 12 years, but it's a consistently A-rated school. It's a community that focuses on a parent partnership with the parents, closely involving them in the education of their students. And one of the things that comes out of that is a high degree of character, kindness, respect, a lot of other core values that the kids learn from very early on in their years. UME has been in the Duncanville landscape for these, I think these past 12 years. There's an elementary school over on Cedar Ridge Road that's been there already. So we just ask that you consider this group of students, these 2 grades that will be there for this short time period. It's going to be a wonderfully run school. It'll be a safe place, and we can commit to you that these kids and their families and the administrators will take care of the community. So thank you for considering this.
Blake Flickner. You didn't have to pick up the kids tonight, right?
No, I'll let Mary take care of that.
Okay.
We live at 418 North Casa Grande in Duncanville, so we're Duncanville residents, and live very close to the UME elementary school that's in Duncanville and very close to Duncanville High School. And UME's been a great neighbor to our neighborhood there, and we're so thankful for UME, and I know they'll be a great neighbor in the community. This is a great way to serve and bless our constituents in Duncanville. UME is a very diverse community in the ways that we often measure diversity, but we're really unified by our parent partnership model. And so it's a community filled with students that have parents that are very involved. This is not the kind of situation where you need to have any concerns of students loitering before or after school. We had a survey done, and there was maybe only one family that might have someone that might walk to school. They'll be driving and being picked up. High character students. drop-off and pickup lines are always very orderly and efficient. The teachers do a great job of managing that, as Felicia already spoke to. It's a very safe school, and I think it would be a wonderful opportunity for our community to support a local educational charter school, and I know that they'll be great neighbors for our community as well.
Thank you. Katie Edwards.
I'm Katie Edwards. I live at 226 Mizell here in Duncanville. And they kind of stole my thunder, so I'm going to just say the things that they didn't say. I'm a longtime resident. I've been living in Duncanville since 1987. I attended Hastings, Daniel, Byrd, the 9th grade center, which no longer exists, and I graduated Duncanville in 1997. So I know Duncanville has a very long educational legacy. And I think this is just a really important way for Duncanville, the city of Duncanville, to support that educational legacy that you have. I'm also a member of Duncanville's First Baptist Church, where UME will be held, and our church family is 100% behind it. We think this is a great opportunity for us to minister to this community and to the children and to the families that will be there. My sons also attend UME. My youngest is going to be in 7th grade, so this directly affects him. And speaking on behalf of the parents, we were very relieved when Ms. Smith told us that DFBC was considering letting us come there, and we know our kids will be safe there. And speaking as a teacher, I also teach at UME, and I'm one of those teachers that makes sure the kids get in the car safely and get out of the car safely. We take our job very seriously, and our students are stellar. Our substitute teachers always tell us, we love teaching at your school because the kids are always respectful, the staff is organized and friendly and personable, and so it would be really important for you to go ahead and vote for that tonight so we can get started and get our kids ready for school. Thank you.
Thank you. And we just have under 2 minutes left, so we have 2 people left. So Robin Cooley.
Hello, my name is Robin Cooley. I live at 8811 Mallory Court. That's in Waxahachie, 75167. I'm a parent of a student who attends the Duncanville campus, and I support everything I've heard tonight.
Thank you. And Kevin Cook.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, my name is Casey Cook. I'm the junior high principal at UME Preparatory Academy. I will be overseeing the students at that location. I've been in education for over 22 years, mostly in private education, and UME is the closest thing I've ever seen to a private school in a public setting. I wouldn't drive from Plano, Texas every day if I didn't believe in the vision, leadership, and mission of UME Prep. We believe in character, honor, and integrity. Our students are scholars, athletes, active in the community, and leaders. It is our goal to leave First Baptist Duncanville and its community in a better shape and in a better place than when we arrived. Our reputation and our character are at stake. Please vote yes for Section 5D. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that's the end of the citizen comment cards that we got, and I'm glad you had the opportunity to speak during the public hearing. Now I need to ask if there's anyone here to speak in opposition of the request for 5D. Anyone here to speak in opposition? Seeing none.
I have a question.
Council questions?
I move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay. We got a motion to close the public hearing by Councilman Kuntz, second by Councilman McBurnett. Vote, please. Unanimous. Public hearing is closed at 8:35. Now, Councilman McBurnett.
Thank you, Mayor. What are the school pickup times and delivery and pickup times?
I believe there are representatives from the school that can answer that. I know it's a little different from what normal schools are. I know that it's an earlier,
Hi, good evening. My name is Misty Stern, and I serve as the Assistant Superintendent at UME Prep. I'm also a Duncanville resident, so I will answer that for you all. So we are a shortened school day, so we have a unique start and end time. So for the 7th and 8th graders, they will start, the doors will open at 8 a.m. They start school at 8:30. They end school at 1:50. So they're out of the way before any other schools dismiss. So we'll be, and we're in a little bit after others kind of open up. So it's kind of a sweet spot. So we're kind of right in the middle. So we won't be in the way of anyone else moving about. We're in and out, and there's about 130 students in 7th grade and 130 in 8th grade. So that's, the volume that we'll have.
That was going to be my next question, so thank you for answering that.
Yes.
In advance too. Okay, I don't have any further questions.
Thank you. Councilwoman Gooden.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have one question about the agenda packet. I saw something, the letter that was signed or dated June 28th. What day did our director start for the city of city of Duncanville? What day did the director of economic development start?
July 1st.
July 1st.
Correct.
Okay. So I will just share that with you, and then that's all I have. And I support the school. Thank you.
Councilman Coombs.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm 100% in support of this. I just have a question. I don't know if it's a question for the city planner or traffic division, but do we have any, if we approve an SUP for a school, do we have any responsibilities for posting like school zone traffic for anything like that? Okay. All right, that's it. And are there other comments?
Oh, go ahead.
Well, if there are any other comments, I just want to move to approve.
Mayor, I
no.
have a comment.
I have comment too. Yes.
One, is the school Monday through Friday? Question.
Yes.
So the times are between, can I say, 7 to 2:50, 7 to 3? What hours are you going to operate this school?
7:45 staff will arrive, and staff will leave 2.
So if I gave you from 7 to 3, 4?
Yes.
7 to 3 or 4?
3.
Okay, and how many students again?
260.
Is that the maximum?
Maximum is 276.
How many faculty?
30.
August through May? Is that your academic year?
August 13th is the first day of school. We would like to get staff in.
Because whatever can go wrong will go wrong. I want to make sure that we give you enough time. So if it's for the academic year, that would encompass, you can leave whenever you want, but I'm trying to write this so you don't have to come back and see us. Not that we don't want you to. And that you're compliant, you're a charter school, so you're compliant with all the state regulations that are applicable to the charter school. I have what I need. Now, I would ask that if you consider that you would consider Monday through Friday for academic year as a special condition, to approve the traffic control plan as presented and is represented by our staff person that was presented to you tonight, that their hours of operation will be between 7 a.m. and 3 p.m., and that they will comply with all state regulations, codes applicable to charter schools. And the reason is there was no actual, we've talked about all those things, but they need to be included in the SUP. Let's protect them as well as us. So, and I have those written down. So if you would include those special conditions in your motion to approve, I will write them in the ordinance.
Okay. Thank you, City Attorney. A couple questions from myself. The thing we notice most around the community during pickup times at private schools, charter schools, public schools, are parents that don't follow the queue and don't stay in line. I see a lot of smiles out there right away. I don't think those are guilty parties. I think they're people that have witnessed this. What are we going to do to make sure that nobody, for instance, the most dangerous situation, pulls up along the curb on Wheatland to pick up a kid because they think they're in a bigger hurry than everybody else? And what are we going to do about not allowing people to stack up on the adjacent streets, whether it's Peach, Moore, or Hamilton to the north? How are we going to monitor that and get people? They're public parking spaces, but in association with having a student at the school, if someone decides, well, that's a better place to park, then they start to interfere with the streets in front of those residents there. So what plan is in place to encourage people or just stop people from doing those types of things?
I think it would be best for them to come up and
she's
explain
coming.
that.
So one of the great things about the parent partnership is we get to lean into that and we use it to our advantage. And so when we encounter that parent, one or two or so, we immediately, you will see us run to a car. No, you cannot. I mean, we're very big about that. We explain to our parents why. We talk a lot about it. Everyone just has to follow the policies and procedures. We don't have it happen a whole lot. We do every now and then, but once we get that parent to understand why it's important, and once they see how efficient we are, they understand. They're like, okay, I got it. We will not allow a student to onboard in an area that's not for them. And sometimes, as we know, we take the heat. We get an angry parent, but we invite them in to come sit down and get to an understanding because we lean into, we're a parent partnership and we're trying to partner, and it takes both of us. So we use that language a lot. It is who we are as a school, and we have to have those conversations. We have them 100% because it's just who we are. And if we start to let that stuff go, who are we? And so we stand on everyone's got to be on board with who we are and what we are, even in those little bitty logistical things about the traffic flow. We take it very seriously, but I think that's why we're good at it, is because we drill people. It's all the things. We're very serious about it because it has to be efficient. And we like that. So I feel like we do it well. The stacking, again, we get kids out. We're ready to go. We don't let a parent, sit and wait. If your kid's not there, hit a lap. You cannot hold up our lines. And people know that. We communicate that. We do the hard work to educate them about that. So we will work really, really hard to not do that. We don't like to do that at any of our campuses. So this is not unique. It's just what we like. We like to be efficient. So we will do our very best. And if there's something else we have to come up with, we have met every day after a new traffic, we're okay, that part didn't work over here. What did you see? We're always doing that because we want it to be efficient. A lot of our parents use their lunchtime to pick their kid up. And so we know we have to be efficient. We respect that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Councilman Kuntz.
Mayor, just in response to your question, because I've seen, different schools. So I've been an eyewitness to some of the UME campuses, or multiple campuses, and I don't know what and I was going to ask about if they had some kind of particular policy, because it is very militant, and I've never seen any of the shenanigans that you're referring to. Whatever they're doing and whatever kind of communications they have with the parents, it's very strict, and so I can testify to that.
Good to hear. Councilman McBurnett.
Thank you, Mayor, because I am supportive of this. So I want to go ahead and make the motion, City Attorney.
Right.
So it's
I'm ready to read those conditions again.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Subject to the following special conditions. The school operate Monday through Friday between the hours of 7 a.m. and 3 p.m.
for a period of beginning in August of 2024 through the end of the academic year of May of 2025, that the traffic control plan as presented by Mr. Keys be included as a special condition, and that they will house no more than 276 students with 30 faculty members, and that they will comply with all state regulations and the state education code as it relates to charter schools.
As he said, so moved.
Motion. Who's second?
No, I just want, so it will expire in May of 25 is when
Yes.
the SOP will expire?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Mac Burnett and a second by Councilwoman Cherry Brown. Let's vote. Congratulations.
Actually, so fun. Thank you for doing something.
Okay, with that, we're going into item 6, staff and board reports. First is present Police Department's quarterly report. Assistant Chief of Police Adrian Tiarina.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. I'll start by giving an update on our staffing. Our newest officers, Officer Garcia, Vasquez, and Gomez, have completed their field training, and they have been assigned to their respective patrol shifts. Garcia and Vasquez have been assigned to Bravo Days Patrol. Officer Gomez has been assigned to Alpha Nights. Our newest recruit out of the academy, Officer Barbosa, she graduated June 17th. Sworn in on July 5th, and has begun her field training. We anxiously await her getting off field training in November and being assigned to a shift as well. Our newest recruits, Garza, Ortiz, Vang, and Lopez, they were all hired during this quarter, and they began their training at the Regional Police Academy, and we anticipate their graduation being sometime in December. The civil service exam was also held on June 8th. 34 applicants were in attendance. After the physical and written examination, 23 successfully passed. 2 of those 23 are already T-Code certified officers to hopefully expedite some of the hiring process. Because that process is so fluid, I will give you some up-to-date information. As of today, one of those applicants has already progressed to the polygraph and psychological portion of our testing, and we currently have an active list of 17 applicants. We're looking to send any applicants that we hire off this list to the Dallas County Sheriff's Office Police Academy, and we are hiring for 7 vacancies. I'm really encouraged about both of these on staff development. The department held an emergency vehicle operations course, or EVOC training. This is the first time since 2012 that we've been able to put this training on. 48 officers were in attendance, and I want to give extreme gratitude to our training and personnel division, our traffic division, braving 100-degree temperatures on a concrete asphalt driving track for 2 weeks to successfully get all of our officers through training and no major damage to any vehicles. So that's a feat in of itself. It's really important this training be done for a multitude of reasons. Driving a police vehicle, you have limited access, limited visibility with all the equipment in there. So it's important training. So I'm very happy to announce that we did that. I'm even more happy to announce that the department did receive our FBI LEDA Trilogy Award. What that is all the police supervisors from the chief on down to the sergeants have attended and graduated 3 weeks of training through FBI LEDA. And Duncanville Police Department is only the 17th police agency in Texas to receive this prestigious award. It goes in line with our best practices and accreditation. It is a very, very valuable leadership training that all of our supervisors were able to go to. Our regional care team, I'm sure everybody's familiar with Officer Hernandez.
He is enjoying some much time off with the birth of his daughter. So the care team is still covering the city of Duncanville in his absence. They had approximately 48 new clients this quarter. So we anticipate Officer Hernandez being back on duty July 29th to provide us further updates. Patrol activity comparison,
Chief.
April through June.
I have a quick question, Chief. On the last thing when you're talking about 48 new clients, is that Duncanville specific?
That is through the team, so Duncanville, DeSoto, Cedar Hill.
Okay, thank you.
Patrol activity at a glance, April through June 2024 as it compares to the same time period in 2023. You see traffic stops in red, increase in that, slight decrease in our calls for service. And at the bottom of that slide is our top 5 cited violations for this quarter. No insurance continues to be our leading citation, followed by expired registration, no driver's license, speeding, and driving with a invalid or suspended license. Citizens on Patrol report cards. This quarter we partnered with Costco, Cash Saver, and Hilton and Hampton Inn. I think the biggest benefit of this program is obviously education is key for the citizens. So in this effort, we try to pass on knowledge to the citizens how to mitigate being a soft target to ultimately not be a victim of theft at all. So our citizens on patrol do an outstanding job passing out these report cards in the hopes of lowering our motor vehicle theft offenses. And we've had great feedback from our business partners in the community as well. Usually when the COPs go out and do this, they leave literature at the business to help educate the citizens as well. Department activity. During the quarter, we had 11 use of force incidents.
Excuse me, Chief, question
yes.
from Councilman Coons.
Sorry, apologies. Yes, sir. On the previous slide, so usually when we get these reports, it's usually commercial area like a shopping center or something like that. Do y'all ever, or is it possible to do this in residential areas? Surveys?
It's certainly possible, sir. We tend to focus on where we see those crimes occur to kind of focus the energy.
Yeah, just a lot of vehicle theft and people talk about things got stolen out of my truck, the alley, things like that. So in residential areas, so I don't know if it was possible to do this, just to raise awareness in the neighborhoods.
Yes, sir.
About because these crimes are in the neighborhoods as well.
Okay, absolutely.
Just a question. Thank you.
The department activity, so we had, as I said, 11 use of force incidents. 8 of those were found to be lawful within state law and department policy. 3 of those are still currently under their administrative review process. We had 1 vehicle pursuit as well as currently under the administrative review process, and we recorded no complaints this quarter. Community engagement, Officer Arias has a real passion for this. As you can tell, these quarterly reports, the numbers, just by the amount of contacts and partnerships that she's gathered throughout the city. Some of the things highlighted here, the Coffee with the Cop is always a success. We also had a partnership with Duncanville ISD Police Department. And at the bottom right, those are our outstanding career day junior police officers. So it's a great job with our community engagement, and we get a lot of calls and a lot of appreciation for Officer Arias and her efforts. These are our NIBRS Group A offenses from April through June 2024. I'll leave this up for y'all to review. There's a lot of information. Those same NIBR Group A offenses as a comparison with our best Southwest cities. At the time this report was generated, we had some technical issues. We weren't able to pull the other cities, but I am in the process of updating this slide, and I will be sure to get it out to each of you.
These are our major crimes in April 2024, separated by district.
Chief. Yeah, there. So looking at District 3, and sorry, I'm slow kind of figuring out the symbols and everything. So in District 3, I noticed right there along, it's at Acton Avenue, and there's a huge cluster of theft from motor vehicle. Is that all at this, because this is just April, right?
This is just April, yes, sir.
Okay, so is there in particular reason why there's that huge cluster there that y'all are aware of?
Nothing. There's no crime pattern that I can put on it. It's just a hot spot of criminal activity in that area. But to your point of possibly going to the report cards in residential areas.
Yeah, and the reason I bring, because I know some of those areas, a lot of people park on the street, right?
Yes, sir.
And leave cars unlocked or whatever it is, and so subject themselves to crime. So again, doing those surveys, possibly just for cars that are parked, on the street, might help at least raise awareness in the neighborhoods.
And also, I'd like to ask in that same regard, excuse me, most of those, and let's say this case, theft from motor vehicle, most of those are unsolved. Is that correct?
I would have to get with our CID division to get those numbers for you, sir. But I can report back to you with it.
Yeah, next report, it'd be interesting just to see, because I know they break a window, they grab what's inside, and they're gone. So I imagine that's pretty hard to track down in most cases.
They're pretty good about our patrol and our CID about canvassing areas with Ring doorbells, neighboring residences, things like that. So,
okay.
But I can get some number for you, sir. Same thing for May 2024 major crimes. And June. With that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you. I appreciate your presentation. I'm going to kind of piggyback on what Councilmember Kuntz was saying as well, because it looks like one of the highest things is some theft from a motor vehicle. I guess my question, and I don't want you to specifically divulge anything that you want, but are the when they go out and do the report cards, do they do it at various times during the day?
They do.
And also during the night?
I'm not aware about nighttime.
Well, I know. I'm just asking because that's most of the time it's going to happen. It's going to happen in the late hours and stuff. And I know it's a volunteer organization that does that.
Our hope is, like I said earlier, about education. You'll get educated, elsewhere, but take those practices home with you.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I mean, I know this is the time where it kind of cyclically goes up and stuff, so I appreciate what y'all are doing. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Councilman Kuntz.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to clarify something just to make sure I'm doing things the right way. Is that my recommendation to the city manager? Thank you for the presentation, but yeah, city manager, if you could look into the
I will. I got it.
surveys.
I'll talk with the chiefs.
Thank you.
Understood.
Further questions? Thank you for the report.
Thank y'all.
Okay, item 6B, monthly financial report as of May 31st, 2024. Jennifer Ote, Budget Administrator.
All right, well, good evening. Okay, so this is the monthly financial report for the month of May. That is the 8th month in our fiscal year. So the benchmark percentage at this point in the year comes to 66.7%. So this is the all fund snapshot. So all fund revenues as of May, we've collected $59.1 million to date. The property tax at this point is at 93% of the budget. Year-to-date interest income we've received is $2.4 million. Our actual revenue in total, 70.2% for the year-to-date. On the expenses side, we've spent $55.2 million to date. That comes to actual 50.1% to date. So property and sales tax, again, just again, the property tax, we get over 50% of our general fund is in property tax. So year to date, we've received $21.8 million. On the sales tax side, we're currently at a negative 1.89% trend over this time last year. Again, that retail trade segment, which is our largest segment in the, our community for sales tax, has been going downward. The benchmark is at 50% since we do collect 2 months behind, and we're actually at 47%. So we're, about 3% behind the benchmark. So on the general fund side, again, that 66.7% benchmark, our actual revenue is at 76.9%. We've received $1.5 million in interest. Different revenue categories that are trending ahead of that 66%. So permits, our recreation fees, classes, events are trending at 78 to approximately 94% of the budget. On the expense side, actual expenses are 57.6% of the budget. So again, special events, public works, streets, traffic, those divisions are trending below that expense mark. And typically, we spend more special events in the summer, as you know, traffic and street projects that we do more in the summertime. So that should start picking up. So this is just a table view, what you have in a financial report, as it's all broken down in the different categories. Same thing on the expense side, the table view here. Just wanted to point out, I did update the fund balances. They are unaudited again at this point, since we're still going through the 23 audit at this point, but it shows to be about 21 million. Starting fund balance for 24, and to date, it's about 29 million. So I say that to show you with the revised budget what it's looking like at this point. When we take out the 60 days of minimal coverage, we have about 14 million in excess fund balance over that 60-day reserve. On the utility fund side, we've collected 12.4 million. That's at 58%. Again, the benchmark at this time of year is 58%, since we are 1 month behind in collections. On the expenditure side, 13.3 million has been spent. That's 60% of the budget. So 6.9 million of that is to Dallas Water Utilities for the water, and the Trinity River Authority for our wastewater treatment. And again, just a table view of the revenues, and the table view of the expenses, including what the fund balance looks like at this point in time. So we're projecting to end the year at 11 million. And some just other fun highlights. So hotel motel, the expenses are at 64%. We've paid $454,000 year to date in the grants and incentives for hotel motel. On the economic development side, we've paid $465,000 in incentives. That's to 8 local businesses. And some project highlights: we kicked off the Matrix Consulting project in the month of May. Intergov re-implementation, as we've already spoke to today, that total cost is projected $232,000. We've expended $38,000 to date, and we're still on track for go live in August. The Swan Ridge Beaver Creek project was completed. That total construction cost came to $2.6 million. And then we did complete emergency drainage repairs on Round Top, which was about $23,000. And that's, any questions?
Councilwoman Gooden.
Just one question. First of all, thank you for getting us the budget 2 weeks early. Big congratulations and kudos to you.
Thank you.
On page 94, sales tax decrease. What's contribute to that you may know of?
Yes. So again, our segment breakdown in terms of the sales tax payers, over 40% is the retail segment. So that would be like your grocery stores, your retail chains, things like that. What the trend, especially, sorry, let me back up. So comparing ourselves to this time last year, there were some anomalies in tax payments. So when you're comparing yourself to last year, we're probably where we are more normally than we were last year, if that makes sense, because there were some higher payments that were not the norm, if that makes sense. But nevertheless, the retail seems to be lagging a little bit. The convenience of online shopping is, continues, so that's at the expense of those brick and mortar type stores as well. So,
if I could, Councilmember Gooden. So I just recently had a meeting with all the best Southwest city managers, and I'm actually happy to say we are down the least compared to all of the other best Southwest city managers, what they were sharing with me. We were having this whole discussion. And I think we also have some updated numbers that actually shows us.
Yeah, this was the month of May.
This was month,
so,
right.
Yeah.
So when we share this with you again next time, we have a little bit better story to tell.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, Ms. Ote. And with that, our business is completed, and we will adjourn at 9:07.